So today, what we are going to discuss is about low-level drivers and maybe specifically to your communication drivers. So the agenda for today will be first we'll be going through what is a driver, what exactly is a driver and how it is done. Then we'll also go through some of the career paths you can follow if you want to choose device driver development as a profession. Then we can also go, we'll also go through a Q&A session post that. Okay, first thing, what and why of low level drivers? What and why of low level drivers? So what we are going to discuss here is starting with why do we need a driver as a first place? Then second is where exactly is the driver used? Then who makes them? Then out of this, all these discussions will come out with a conclusion. What exactly is a low level driver? So why do you need driver? Let's assume a scenario. You have two friends talking over a table, and one of them is, let's say, assume it's a Korean, and one of the other person is a English. So how do you think they can communicate? How do you think they can talk to each other? So one person understands only Korean, and one person understands only English, right? So what you need here is a translator. Without a translator, how can a two person coming from a two different languages will communicate? They cannot. Now this translator, when I talk, it can be of any form. In this scenario, it can be a human, or it can be a software, or it can be your mobile phone, or anything. So basically what you need is a translator. Similarly, if you take your computer, if you take your PC as a system, so when you use your laptops or computer, you don't use only your laptops, right? What you do is you connect some input output devices like keyboard, mouse, and USB devices. In USB, you have flash devices, and you have sensors, you connect network devices, you connect so many things via your USB. Then you also connect your external hard disks and external SSDs. You also connect Wi-Fi routers. You also connect Bluetooth. You connect your internet, LAN or Ethernet cable and everything. So how these things will communicate? Why I'm saying this is because if you take your laptop, let's assume you have a Lenovo laptop which has a Intel i5 processor maybe. Now, that processor is of x86 architecture, right? Now, if I take a mouse, this mouse also will have some kind of processor or microcontroller, if I want to be specific. It will also have a microcontroller within it to function. Now, this is again not of Intel, right? This can be of any company, it can be of any architecture. So the language which this architecture understands and the language which this architecture understands can be different. Now, how will they communicate? How will this Intel processor maybe know? Maybe let's assume it's a Samsung processor. How this Intel processor will communicate to the Samsung processor? So they need some kind of interface or some kind of translator in between here also. What is the translator is this. So this pop-up works, I think you might have seen many of the times. So whenever you insert a USB or you insert any external device to your laptop or computer, you will see this pop-up. It says that installing device driver software. So this device driver software is the bridge. It is the translator here. So this device driver software actually helps your computer to understand your mouse language or your mouse to send some data to your computer or vice versa, any communication. So this is why you need your drivers, so that all different microcontrollers coming from different vendor, different architecture, they can communicate and they can work seamlessly. Coming to where is it exactly used? So if you noticed in the previous example, which I gave a very generic example, the main thing what I wanted to show here is there is a electronic system available in that example. When I say system, it means it has a processor, it input output peripherals, it has some other devices and external devices connected to it. It's not working as a very isolated system. It's a very dynamic electronic system. So wherever you have an electronic system involved, most of the chances is that a device driver is needed there. Now, where all you use your electronics or microcontrollers, pretty much everywhere. Can be in aerospace defense industry, it can be used in automotive, in medical, in data centers, in security. Security here, what I mean is cyber security. So we'll touch up about the security part also a little maybe. It's also used in wireless and networking devices, in your cell phones, in your consumer electronics like your refrigerators, your cameras, your washing machines, and everywhere. So wherever now you think that okay, there is electronic system is present in this device, yeah, there is a device driver implemented in that device. Now, if you are talking about only communication driver, I'll be taking this whole course as a kind of generic low level driver. Also, I'll add more or less communication related things in between because I think communication is just a part of your whole low level driver as a software if you talk. So what are the communication drivers we usually develop in microcontrollers? Now, this list is not exhaustive. You have many other protocols coming up also. You have also proprietary communication protocols, which are used by only a specific or the proprietary who have the proprietary for that protocol. There are many other protocols, but what I have listed is a very basic and general communication protocols which are being used across different industries and everything. First of them is SPA. So SPA is again serial peripheral interface. It's basically used in your data transfer or as a flash devices. So what you have is you can have your memories internally or you can also have memories external. So when you have an external memory, how are you going to communicate to the memory? So we usually use SPI to communicate with a flash device. So this is what this SPI flash means. Okay. Then you have a UART. UART, where are we using? We use it for serial communications. I'm sure you might have seen or you might have heard something called as COM port in Windows PCs. So that COM port is basically a serial port where you use your UART. Then you have I2C, which you use for short range communication and data loggings. Then you have LIN, which is again local interconnect network, which is again used for short range communication. Then you have CAN, which is a controller area network, which is used for fast communication and for debugs. Again, it's very proficiently used in automotive industry. Then you have Ethernet. I think everybody knows where all Ethernet is used. It's almost everything where internet is connected now. There is a Ethernet implemented in it. And there is also something called as I2S, which is used for infotainment, that is your audio transmission. You also have a SENT protocol, which is single edge nibble transmit, which is to transmit and receive sensor data. So usually industries or microcontroller vendors, if I have to say, they develop drivers for all these communication protocols. Who makes them? So as you have seen, mostly the microcontroller vendors or the microprocessor vendors who has their own fabrication unit who produce the microcontrollers, they are actually responsible for making these low level drivers. Whereas all these companies like Dell, Cisco, Samsung, and WD who are mostly working in network and storage section. Then you have Nvidia, Intel, Qualcomm, which comes to your consumer electronics and also networking. Then you have your TI, ST, Infineon, Microchip, your general purpose microcontroller vendors. So again, this is also not an exhaustive list. Usually, it also happens like if you talk about let's say Samsung, what it tell is okay, my microcontroller is very general. It can be used in many industries. So what I'll do is I'll just give a demo. I'll just give a demo how you can someone implement a driver for their devices, and maybe a third party can take up the development and they can do it. So that also happens. But mostly, yeah, It's always related to your microcontroller vendor. Then coming to our conclusion here. What exactly is a low-level driver? So low-level driver is a computer program that is required to connect, control, or communicate with a specific peripheral or bus or etc. Each time an external device is introduced to a microcontroller or a microprocessor, the processor always talks to the external device via your low-level driver. In this image, if you can see, there is a processor involved, and there are several peripherals attached to that processor. You have PWM, you have UART, you have some filters, USB, SPI, and everything. Now, how they are going to communicate is through these low-level drivers. If it's a communication protocol like SPI or I2C, it's a communication driver. If it's a storage related things like SRAM or flash, it's a memory driver. If it's a timers or if it's input output related things, which again comes under your drivers. So this is how it's very broadly divided into. Let's say one person will say that, okay, I have a microcontroller. I also have a data sheet of the microcontroller. Now what I'll do is I'll write a code. I'll write a code in C, which what it will does is it will take a data from external sensor or maybe external LED. It will transmit the data through UART to your processor, to the microcontroller. We can write the program by looking at the data sheet, right? Because we know the registers which we require to start the UART and do the communication, where we need to store the data to communicate. We can know all these things by looking at the data sheet, right? So if a person just writes a code which can work, which is doing the work of communicating via the UART, will that be called as a low-level driver? The main reason of is to keep the software, the application software, independent of underlying hardware. That's the main purpose why we need a low-level driver. What happens is different industries follow different standards or different architecture. So this example, what you're seeing here, is used in automotive industry. So in automotive industry, they have something called as this layered architecture. Example, how it is designed there. But this architecture is very specific to automotive architecture. If you see, what happens is on the top you have your application layer, correct? On the bottom you have your microcontroller, which is your hardware. Now just above that you have your microcontroller abstraction layer. So this microcontroller abstraction layer, it is nothing but another name for low-level driver. Okay, so there are so many names which is used in industries for this low-level driver. Some people call it low-level driver, some call it device driver, some call it call it, firmware or anything. So there are different names. There are many names which all means the same. So in automotive industry, it's called as microcontroller abstraction layer. Then on top of that, on the above layer, there is something called as ECU abstraction layer. So ECU is nothing but electronics control unit. So this is again another abstraction layer. On top of that, you have a service layer. So this service layer is nothing but OS. Then on top of that, you have something called as RTE, that is runtime environment or a middleware. And on top of that, you have an application layer. Now, when we talk about, as I said, when we talk about low-level driver, we are talking about this microcontroller abstraction layer. So if you see this microcontroller abstraction layer, it directly communicates to your microcontroller. Okay, your application layer is here. So here is where you will write your LED blinking application. Now, what this will do is this will directly not access, if you're writing a LED blinking application, this will not directly access your microcontroller. This will access your ECU abstraction layer via your runtime environment and service layer. Service layer is nothing but OS, right? Or in this case, we can say it as RTOS. So your application will talk to your OS will talk to your ECU abstraction layer, ECU abstraction layer will talk to microcontroller abstraction, which will talk to your hardware. In this method, what will happen is my application layer, whatever application that I'm going to write, I can make it a complete generic application. I don't have to worry about which microcontroller I'm using. I don't have to worry about which OS I'm using. I don't have to worry about anything. If I'm doing a application, then I'll only do application here. And I'll call to all these layer functions where basically if when I say these are accessing, that means there are C functions implemented in this in all these layers, and they are basically calling the functions in each of these layers. Okay. Similarly, we have your Linux architecture. So in Linux also you have something called as user space and kernel space. Okay. Then you have something called as your hardware. So this user space is where your application runs. You have your Firefox, you have your GCC, whatever application you have that will run in your user space. Then you have something called as kernel space. Now this kernel space is what responsible to communicate with your hardware. If at all application wants to communicate, it has to be via your kernel space. Now in kernel space, you have two systems. One is your network stack subsystem or stack or subsystem, and another one you have is virtual file system. So if it's a network related peripheral which we are going to use like Ethernet or a LAN or anything or Wi-Fi or anything, that actually comes under your network stack, okay, which is connected, which will talk to your network interfaces. Then you have VFS. VFS is again divided into two subdivisions. One is block drivers and one is char or character drivers. So when you communicate or in your hard disk or such kind of things, then it's registered as a block driver. When you communicate character by character, like in serial communications, it's characterized as a character driver. Whatever the hardware may be, it will have to be communicated via your kernel space. So now, in this case, your device driver stays in your VFS or in your network stack or subsystem. So this is how your low-level driver kind of abstracts your application from your hardware. And this is why exactly you need low-level driver. Coming to second chapter, that is how it is done. So we'll go through a brief overview, then we'll see some SDLC or software development life cycle, then we'll see a small example in this section. So to start with the overview, so basically it's written in C, or you can call it as embedded C if you want, but yeah, more or less the same thing. It's written in C. Now, if you have seen, I just showed you like two architectures. One is used in automotive, one is used for Linux or maybe your PC. That these two are basically different industries. So one is automotive industry, one is consumer electronics or general purpose industries, right? So different industries have their own standard for software. When I say software, I mean your device driver or application. You may say anything. So if you want to develop a software in any of the industries, if you why do these standards need to be followed? Again, to keep it as a generic and abstract. So let's say if I want to take same automotive, if I want to write a device driver for SPI protocol, which is going to be used in automotive industry. So as I have shown you, the application is always ignorant of microcontroller or your hardware, right? So if I don't have a standard, then how I am going to know what are the function names going to be? So I told you, right? The application layer will call some function from OS. OS will call some function from ECU abstraction and so on and so forth. So if I don't have a standard, if I don't have a protocol, everyone will develop their own driver as per their own wish. Then it cannot be a generic, right? So that's why each industries came up with their own standards and own protocols how to do a software development for those industries. So for some of the examples will be like AutoSAR, which is used for automotive. Then there's DO178C, which is used for aerospace. Then there is IEC 62304, which is used for medical electronics. For safety critical applications also, there are different standards followed. Now, what is the safety critical applications? Again, I'll take a very simple example. There is a microcontroller involved inside the mouse, correct? Now, there's a device driver also implemented inside the microcontroller of the mouse. Now, the same device driver I cannot use for an application where it is going to be used in, let's say, I cannot use the same driver in flights. Why? Because they are different. They are at a different stage in terms of criticality. So if you miss your 2 or 3 clicks on your mouse, I think it's okay, it's acceptable. But you cannot miss some of the signals in when you are on flight, because that will cause much more damage than a single mouse click can cause. So based on the application, there is also something called as safety criticality analysis. Okay, so based on their application, again, different industries follow their own criticality application standards. They also categorize like, okay, this is criticality level A, this is criticality level B, C, D, and so on and so forth. And based on the criticality level, you also add some more safety features. You also do some additional checks and everything. So for them also, there are many standards are followed, like ISO 26262, DO 178B, 62304, and everything. So these all standards, some of them are open standard, some of them are you need a license to see the standards, you need to purchase this. But yeah, more or less, basically we follow some standards and protocol everywhere. Then there's also security, which is again I would say which is booming very rapidly in like past several years. So when I say security, I mean your cyber security. So usually we used to do all the security related things in software. Now we are coming to hardware based securities, and there are also different standards which are being standardized as of now. Not it's not standardized across the industries, but it's slowly being standardized.